Alright, so we're going to learn a little bit about a breadboard and how it works before we can go on. So we're going to need the following things. Okay? In your kit that you're supposed to order, you're supposed to order these. Okay? What these are, it allows you to probe a breadboard. Okay? They have an alligator clip on one edge, and then they have this probe on the other. You're going to have your multimeter came with a set of probes, and you're supposed to order some clips. Okay, the clips we're not going to use in this experiment. Put those off to the side. We are going to install the probes, the black one and the red one, in these holes. Also, there are these safety things on the end that you can remove. You keep your probes nice so they don't get damaged. Okay, we're going to open this package up for the first time. It's got a piece of tape on it, looks like, and I was ill prepared with any kind of sharp objects, so I'm just going to use a fingernail. Get lucky, I think. Yes. Okay, so what we're looking for is a black wire and a red wire. So pick out a black wire and a red wire. Put the other ones to the side. Okay, so what we're going to do is clamp the red one to the red and the black one to the black. And then wherever you put these, just keep them out of your way. I have a very limited area to work in. And now you can see these just insert down into these holes. So to understand a breadboard first, let's power this off. If you have this powered, you see the little green light. There's no green light. In fact, you could take this thing right off if you have it installed. So let's just look at the breadboard and go from there. Alright, so you need to turn your multimeter to this one. You can see the little speaker on it. That one. You can also identify that same little speaker down here. So you know that this one is for that probe. What does this do? Well, now what you could do is you touch the two probes together. Beeps. So to understand how our breadboard works, there are these letters and numbers. Okay? So the number represent this row, and the letters represent a column. Now, we used to be really hung up on where things go on a breadboard a long time ago, and these letters and numbers really did mean something. Like with some of the complex, they made these for early students when it came to electronics. That's where the origination of these letters and numbers came from. I remember as a kid, some of those very early on lessons. So the row of 1 is all hooked together. So I could put my probe here, I could put my probe here, and it will beep and light up. Ooh. And you can see it has an ohm. 1 ohm. Cool. So you could do that to 2 too. Okay. But if you stick a probe in 1 here and 2 here, it will not do anything because these are two separate things. So you can imagine if you were to like take a wire and tie it together, that's what would be essentially the same as putting it into this one track. Alright, so there are exceptions to that, of course. So 1 on this side and 1 on this side are not hooked together. There's this right here. And this primary channel is based for components to separate them on two halves, mainly ICs. So integrated ICs we'll get into a little bit later, but they look like little microchips and they sit into these, and you can power both sides, but this will make it so they can get separated by this channel. So the channel is mainly for ICs, but it works good for everything else too. Okay, so as we go on, this will make a lot more sense too. So they got these other bars, a positive and a negative on both sides. Okay, you notice that this thing has a positive and negative 2, and a positive and negative 2. So this thing right here will power these channels up so that we can use like the 5 volt. It will make these rails 5 volt, and anytime we plug something in, it'll be 5 volt. So for example, the red is all hooked together. So I could put a probe here and a probe here, and that whole chain is hooked together. Same with the blue. But you notice they weren't hooked. Like, so I put one in red, one in blue, get nothing. Alright, so go ahead and plug this in. And this should be plugged into the wall via your 9 volt power supply. Okay? And I have it on 5 volts. Well, we're going to switch this over to volts. Right here. And you can see that same icon down below. Sort of. Do you see it? No. Okay, so it's not down here. So we automatically assume this is for volts, okay, and milliamps, and this is for amps. And it says that right here. 10 amps, 250 volts, and on this side it says 400 milliamps and 250 volts, just below the clip. So if we ever have anything that we're testing at amps that is above 400 milliamps, don't use this side because it will blow it out. We don't have anything like that right yet, so we're alright. Okay, so now let's put a probe in the blue and a probe in the red. And turn our breadboard on. There we go, 4.99 volts. So to have fun, there's this little thing, and let's switch it over to the other one. Now it's 3.3 volts. But you notice when you put it in the middle, it doesn't do anything. Now I would have suspected that the middle would have been the pure power of the 9 volt coming out of the thing that plugs in the wall, the power supply. But that wasn't the case. That's okay. So 5 volt and 3 volt are really good for beginner students anyway. And if you want to get a 9 volt battery, you can later on. I'll probably have you get one in your bundle. Yep. So you haven't ordered anything yet, or you have, and you should probably all have those, and it doesn't really matter anyway. That's the beauty of an online course. I can decide when to release that. Good times. All right. Now, we have the basics of a breadboard, okay? How things work. So now we can work on maybe a starter circuit and understand where to put things as we go. At least a somewhat understanding of where things need to go. All right, so let's move on.